All right, we're recording. So again, folks, you need these supplies today: scissors, an extra piece of paper, Q-tips, just one or two, any old paintbrush or two, some paper towel will be helpful, a ballpoint pen, baby oil if you have some around. You could even use some like cooking oil, like corn oil, something from the kitchen, olive oil would work. A sharp knife, but be careful, please. Your oil pastels, a sketchbook, and maybe a pencil, although you could use your pen. I'll jot that down here too, pencil. So that's a lot of supplies. If you have 2/3 of those supplies, you're going to have a lot of fun today. All right. Next thing I'd like to do is have you guys write down some things in your sketchbook. So I'm going to explain what all of this stuff means later, but for now, what I'd like you to do, let me zoom out here, is take a whole sketchbook page and draw a line right through the middle. I've got a spine up here at the top of mine, maybe yours is on the side, doesn't matter. Turn your page horizontally or vertically. And you're going to divide this into 8 sections, which means you're going to divide your paper in half, right? And then you're going to divide it in half this way. So you've got a T. You can use a straight edge if you like, or heck, this is just note taking. I highly doubt you're going to sell this on eBay or something. Divide it into 8 sections. Once you've got that done, I would love for you to write down these few things. And I'll explain. We're going to go one by one. The first one I'd like you to write down is the word tint. T-I-N-T. I'm going to demonstrate all these different oil pastel techniques. The next one is shade. And the next one is tone. You learned about tints and tones and shades when we learned about color last week, the art of color. The next one is just color mix. You'll see what that's all about in a sec. Color mixing. After that, we've got a couple others. Let's go to light on dark and dark on light. Is there a difference? Well, yes, there is. We're going to check it out. And I've got 2 more for this page. The last 2 are finger blend. Yeah, we're going to blend with our finger. And the other is blending stump. So if you have a blending stump, I doubt most of you do, but that's like a rolled up piece of paper where you can blend. But that's where the paper towel comes in. I'll show you how to roll and fold this so you essentially have a blending stump. How many sections are there? Well, that's a great question. There are going to be 16, but these are just the first 8. So just one more time in case you missed it. Of course, we're going to come back to all these again anyway. So if you missed one, let's just pick it up later. But again, it's tint and shade, tone, color mixing, light on dark, dark on light, finger blend, and blending stump. Or just write down paper towel, because most of you just have paper towel. All right, we are going to do this for one more page, and then we'll get to the coloring. On the other side, do the exact same thing. Divide your page right down the middle. And through the middle this way, so you broke it into 4 even quadrants. But then subdivide those so that you, again, have 8 sections on this page. So again, if you don't have some of these materials, or you don't even have your oil pastels yet, that's okay. You're going to get them later today, maybe next week, or maybe at the store this afternoon. All right, next up, we're getting to the fun ones. Stippling. You could write optical blend if you want to remember, but I'm going to show you how to do stippling. You may or may not know that word. You probably have never heard of this next one. Scrumbling. What the heck is scrumbling? I'm going to show you. The next 2, sgraffito. Oh boy, now we're learning Italian on a Friday morning. Sgraffito actually means scratching in Italian. Sgraffito. And next is etching. You might just want to write down the word valleys next to it. Wait till you see this cool technique called etching. Ooh, it's going to be awesome. All right, hopefully you've got those 4, and we just have 4 more, and then we get to the fun stuff. All right, this one here says diluting. If you dilute something, you know, kind of spread it out. You make it thinner. So we're going to dilute using oil. If you have some baby oil, if you don't have this, you must have some oil in the house, I would think. You could even probably melt down some butter. I don't know. But yeah, we need something that's oily so we can activate these oil crayons. That's what we'll use our Q-tip for. We're going to cut some paper and make stencils. Yes, paper cut stencils. Make 2 of those boxes. Coconut oil is perfect. I'm glad you asked. Yes, coconut oil is actually what a lot of oil pastels are made out of. So that would be awesome. So yes, make 2 boxes that say paper cut stencils. This one says more paper cut stencils. And the last one is paintbrush and oil. I should have grouped those differently, but you get the idea. We're going to use oil, and we're going to use a paintbrush and a Q-tip. Wait till you see what you can do with these things. I don't know. I get excited about this stuff. Because when I first learned this, I was like, what? This is awesome. So I hope you guys enjoy them as much as me. Some people think of oil pastels as a drawing medium, and I guess they are, because they feel like you're holding a crayon in your hand. But most artists agree that they are a painting medium. And they were born out of the fact that artists wanted to be able to do an oil painting, but one that dried really quick. I don't know if you guys have ever done an oil painting, but they take like months sometimes to dry if you're laying it on thick enough. Usually the weeks and weeks. So actually Picasso was instrumental in this. He worked with a company in France, Sennelier, and decided to encourage them to come up with a new type of crayon. Now I'm talking like 1940s. These things are relatively new as far as art media. So what we're working with is one of the newer art media around. Now you, I think, have a class set of like 36 different colored pencils. I have my Caran d'Ache, 96 different colors. Now, I'm not trying to flex on you or impress you, but an artist obviously wants more colors. The more colors you have, the more fun you can have. Is this the 96? Yeah, this is 96. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. Well, that doesn't seem right. I've only got 24 and 48. There must be more underneath here. Well, I guess I've got 48, which is good enough. I don't know why it says 96. That's really weird. All right, so I've got my oil pastel. So right now you should get yours out. Let's quickly talk about what you have here before we get to the coloring. Basically, you have pigment, you know, ground up minerals and seashells and rocks and roots and all kinds of stuff. But then they have to have something that holds it together, or else the powder would just fall out. So they use oil, obviously, usually like a coconut oil or like a petroleum type of oil that's really not like salad dressing oil, but it's thicker. And they actually thicken it up with wax. And someone asked, what do I do if I don't have any oil? Don't worry about it. Maybe when you get some later or when you're back in class, you can test that out. Anyway, so it's oil. A lot of them use coconut oil. It's wax, and it's some pigment, and that's it. The cheap ones are made with dye, but the higher quality ones, like my Neo pastels, they are actually made with really good quality pigments, which is what an artist wants. You know, 100 years from now, we want these to look really amazing. So I'm just going to pick a couple colors that I might work with. Let's just pick an orange and a yellow and a purple. I'll pick a dark color. Ooh, I need a black. Make sure you have a black and a white. You'll need those. Yeah, here's what we want to pick today. Pick black and white. Pick a red and yellow. And let's pick, get a gray if you have a gray, which I don't seem to have in here. But I could use some black and white. I'm going to pick a couple dark colors. I've got a dark green, and maybe I'll pick a dark blue. That looks like fun. So I'm just picking a few colors, and then I'm going to put the rest of these away. And we can start having some fun. All right, let's get these out of the way. Here we go. Let's start with a tint. Now, a tint, of course, is when you add white to a color. So what I'd like you to do is take a bright color you've got, maybe it's like red or something, and just put it down. And make it really solid. Press hard so it's nice and solid. Let's zoom in here so you can see what I'm up to. And that's, well, boy, it doesn't look nearly as impressive under my screen as it does when I'm looking at it. It looks like bright red. I mean, it's really bright. But down, well, if I do that, I'm trying to get it so you guys can see the full bright color. Yeah, it looks brighter like that. Anyway, now it looks muted. Anywho, check this out. Take your white and go like this right on top and tint it. And notice how that changes to a pink. I'm going to make mine a little bit brighter so you can see it. But yes, you can mix these just like paint. They will blend together. Now, one bad thing that just happened is I've just dirtied up my white. So one thing you might want to do is try to get this clean again by wiping off the excess, because you always want your white to remain kind of clean. So yes, I've got a bunch of now little, oil pastel boogers over here. But anyway, I've got my white clean again. So that's how you can clean it, just on a side piece of paper. So let me see if this really shows up. Yeah, you can kind of see the difference. Intense red, pink. That's a tint. Try a shade. You might as well just stick with red and go like this. And we'll put a little black on top. Now I'm doing this lightly, okay? Very lightly. Because if you press hard, the black is just going to sit on top. Okay? So what you might want to do is actually use your finger or a paper towel. I'm just going to use my finger here. I'm going to blend this a little bit. There we go. And so now it looks like more of a maroon color. It's kind of hard to see. It looks much darker under the camera, but what I'm looking at is just a darker version of this red. So I'm sure it's working well for you, but this document camera is not showing exactly what I'd like. Trying to get just the right angle so you guys could see. Anyway, that's a shade, adding black to a color. So why am I showing you this? This is pretty basic stuff. Because sometimes you want to just not use just red right out of the tube or just basic red. You want to alter it. Another thing you can do is use a tone. Now, if you have a gray, you can easily do this by just putting down some color and then putting gray on top. I can't find a gray in my set, so I'm going to use some black lightly. And I'm going to use some white and make it gray. Look at that. See how those mix just like paint? Nice and thick like oil paints too. Let me clean that off. And now I'm going to add some red to it. There we go. And I'm just going to blend this a little bit with my fingers. And I'm going to get kind of it's kind of a warm gray now. To you, it looks like black, but if I could show this more closely, it's just a very warm gray. Yeah, again, it looks much darker under mine, but I'll bet yours is working great. Well, what a tone does is really just sucks all the color out of it. It's not really red anymore. It's not pink. It's just toned down, and it just weakens it. Someone else just saying, what if my Wi-Fi keeps going down? I'm sorry, it logged me out a few times. Do the best you can. And all of this is going to be on video, so you guys can go back and refer to this if you need. What I'd like to do now is not try a black and white color mix. Let's try like a red and yellow. Watch this. Let's see if we can get orange to appear in the middle. So take your red, or you could do blue and yellow and see if green appears. And watch this. I'm going to press hard at first and then lighten my pressure. And watch as I use the yellow over here, full strength. But now I'm going to have these blend together. And I should end up with kind of an orange in the middle. There we go. So that's, depending on how you do it, it might be really smooth or it might look kind of rough. And again, if you have red all over your yellow, you might want to clean that off, because you always want to try to keep your crayons nice and clean so that you don't impart some red. Like maybe you're trying to draw the sun or something. You want to make sure that you can get all that color off of there. You don't want little red spots in your sun. So you can blend this a bit more with your finger and make it more smooth. You can't do this with a regular, say, Crayola wax crayon. But hopefully you got it to kind of slowly transition, as you guys call it, ombre, from one color to the next. So these are just little experiments on this first page. The next page, we're really going to have fun. The next is the idea of light on dark. So what I'm trying to show you is, let's just try this. Let's put some black down. Yeah. Can we get a light color to go on top of this? I'm gonna try yellow on top. Oh, what the, gosh, ooh, that's not really working so well. Now I've dirtied up my yellow again. What the heck? I'm making a mess. So what am I trying to show you here? I'm actually showing you what not to do. Yellow, well, those are pretty extreme, yellow and black, but typically a light color is not gonna sit on top of a dark color. Let's try it the other way though. Let's put down some yellow and let's put black on top. Oh yeah, no problem. So I think you can see what I'm going for here. Typically, when an artist uses oil pastels, they do need to kind of think in advance, think about the future. You need to start with lighter colors first, and darker colors will sit on top. So let's do another here. Let's just try to blend two colors. This is what I call a finger blend. Before, up here, I kind of tried to blend with pressure, and I use my finger a little bit. But I wonder if I just go like this, some here, and then I put some yellow over here. There we go. Can you blend these with your finger? Can you go back? I'm kind of going in a circle here. Ooh, ooh, that's even a smoother transition. Holy moly, that's nice. I like that a lot. So yes, you can use your finger to really blend things nice and smooth. Well, that's one way to do it, but then you're always going to have oil pastels all over your fingers. These things are messy, and it might be worth mentioning, yes, these will stain your clothes. They are oil pastels. They're not watercolor, okay? So be careful. In particular, the reds and the magentas tend to stain. A lot of these colors will wash out, you know, with a Tide Pod or something. Now, you could do this with a blending stump. This is just a different way to blend. I'm going to use these same two colors. My red, my yellow, and again, I'm going to flex on you a little bit. Oh, you could use a Q-tip. That would be just as good as a blending stump. So if you have a Q-tip, you can do this, or you can take your paper towel. Let me zoom out here. And you can just fold it. Fold it the long way a couple times. Fold it in half. You can really get, if you really, you know, you just want it to be kind of firm so it can blend like this. And this way you can keep the oil pastels off of your fingers. Ooh, look at that. That blends nice too. So these are just different blending techniques. Whether you use your finger and you don't mind getting dirty, you use one of these, you use a blending stump like this, like a paper one, that works. And there's other ways to blend, but there's a couple. All right, you just earned 25 points. Let's get you 25 more points by turning the page and going to the other 8. These are going to take a bit more time. Here we go. Another way to blend is what's called stippling. And stippling is, well, it's using little tiny dots. So let's do this. Very lightly draw yourself a circle. And we're going to try to shade this so that it looks like a sphere. Okay. Now, we're going to use dots to shade it though. So I'm going to use red here for this dark side. And I'm just going to tap and try to tap in like a crescent moon shape. There we go. And so a lot of artists actually prefer to paint this way, whether it's with oil pastels or their paintbrush. They're not going to shade it and make it perfectly smooth. They're going to let your eyes blend the colors together so that optically it kind of changes colors. So now I'm going to use yellow, and these yellows, as I tap, will blend and make kind of an orange color. Do some more over here. What's nice is the red will be on top of this yellow. We'll start to make some orange color. And as I come over to the right side, I should see more and more yellow now that I'm steering clear of the red. Oh, but hopefully this starts to look like a sphere. Oh, let's see, I got to get rid of that red. And this is one of the problems. I'm glad I'm demonstrating this. One of the problems with using light and dark colors together, you might have to clean it on a side piece of paper. You see me cleaning it here. That's okay. This is just our notes. but now I'm going to have trouble putting yellow over in this area. Let's just do a little cast shadow here. Yeah. So stippling is using dots. That's it. Pretty straightforward. Might be worth talking about at this point. What if you make a mistake? What if you need to erase some of yours? Well, that's where this knife comes in. You can't really erase these. It'll just ruin your eraser. So please don't use an eraser and get oil all over it. Then we'll just have to throw that thing away because it's not going to come clean. But you can take a blade and you can kind of scrape and remove material. It may have stained your page a bit, so you won't be able to get it all off. I'm just going to put that right here on my paper towel. But it might allow you, as long as your yellow is nice and clean, there we go, to go back in there and build up that yellow that you might want on that edge. So it's not, we don't really have an eraser for oil pastels. All we have is a knife to remove some, okay? So be careful, try to work from light to dark. Maybe I should have started with the yellow first, but there you go. Now scrumbling is similar, but scrumbling, it's kind of scribbling. But I know when you guys think of scribbling, you think like making loops and loops. It's more of a, I try to do a sphere by scrumbling. It's more just doing something like this. It's more of a loose line. Okay, so here again, I'm trying to draw a sphere, but I'm not so much tapping as I'm making, you know, marks like this, and kind of scribbling. I'll just draw a little mountain in the background here. There we go. So it's making tiny little marks that might look like this, or like this, or like this, or even, you know, it's just a little bit thicker, I guess. It's not dots. That's the idea of scrumbling. It's a great technique. If you're just making a cloud or something, you might just kind of scrumble it in. So it's a lot of impressionists that do these very loose types of paintings. They like to use that style. All right, check this one out. Ooh, you're gonna have fun with this. Sgraffito. First thing I'd like you to do is put down a light color. Could be white, could be yellow, whatever you want. And we're gonna layer this. That's why I wrote the word layer right there. You might wanna make a note. And just put a darker color on top. I think I'll just stick with the red here. Of course, the darker color will surely sit right on top. And then you need something to scratch with, which is why a knife would be good. Watch this. Wow. Let me zoom in there so you can really see what's going on here. Yeah, oh, it looks so much brighter under my screen. This just looks so dead and dull, but it really is just scraping through and you can see what's underneath. So I'll bet yours has that wow factor. Under my camera, it doesn't look nearly as impressive, but what I'm looking at looks really bright. So that's a technique. I mean, it's a technique. Let's say you were drawing some grass or something, or you wanted to draw, some little rocks or things. So it's not just, wow, that's cool, you can scratch it away. Like a lot of artists will use this to their advantage to draw little tree branches or little sparkles in someone's eye or something. So that's kind of cool. The next one is called etching. And what we're going to do is emboss valleys into the paper. So here's where your extra piece of paper comes in. Take your extra piece of paper, put it on top. Take your ballpoint pen, and we're going to draw. Watch this. I'm pressing pretty hard because I'm trying to, maybe a little too hard. I think let's use a different pen here. Yeah, this one's good. All right. I'm just going to draw and I'm going to press. And what I'm doing is creating little valleys in the paper below. So I don't know if you can see it here, but I've embossed, which is a way of saying I pressed into the paper below. And watch this. Let's just use this flat end here. There we go. And then you can see it pop through. Now, a lot of artists will do this just for their signature. They don't really use it as an effect, although you can. Like you want to preserve the little white speck in someone's eye, for example, you might emboss your paper first. And let's just rub this so we can really show up. Ooh, look at that. That's cool. But when an artist is signing their oil pastel work, they'll just go like this really quick and they'll sign their name. Ooh, let's do it this way. Linderman. And then they color it in. And woo, there it is. So it's just a cool way to sign your name. I just didn't press quite hard enough, but hopefully you get the idea. All right, now it's time to get to the fun stuff, the really fun stuff. This next one is using a little bit of baby oil. So if you don't have any, don't worry about it. But any oil will work. I'm just going to pour a tiny bit. I really want to caution you to use the smallest bit. In fact, I'm not even going to, I was going to pour this into the cap, but I'm just going to put it right here. And first thing I should do is, I'm going to stick with this spherical theme here. Watch this. I'm just going to add a little bit of green here. And I'm going to add a little bit of yellow over here. There we go. And I'm making a mess of my yellow again. One more thing I'd like to show you. This is kind of important, so I hope you're watching this. At some point, obviously, you're going to wear down the point on this. So you do what's called skinning your crayon. This outer part, this paper, is known as the skin. So we want to take the skin off. I like to keep the skin on there because, of course, my hands don't get as dirty. But you can peel that back just like you might a normal crayon. Now, personally, I like to go like this on a side piece of paper and just wipe the color off until I see that it's clean. But other artists who are rich will do this. And they'll take their blade and they'll just go like this and cut across it and remove a whole section. And obviously it's going to get it clean. The other thing that does is, you know, because these oil pastels don't have a point, okay? You're never going to get an oil pastel sharpened to a point like this and be able to draw with it. But you can, when you cut it like this, it makes, well, let's draw with this end here. It kind of makes a sharp end. And so now what you have are these edges, and you can make really fine lines. So some artists, when they want to get really fine details, will take a knife and cut it flat so that they can draw really thin lines. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Now, check this out. I'm going to use my oil here. I'm just going to dip this in. I don't want much. You don't want to ever pour oil onto your drawing or really soak it. Or what's going to happen is it's going to soak through your paper, make your paper super oily. In fact, most artists, I've got some here, they're going to use like linseed oil. This is what you would use for oil painting. Now, I like this better because it's called archival. In other words, it's going to last, and eventually it's going to dry. Whereas baby oil, believe it or not, it doesn't dry. It might take years to dry, whereas this oil, linseed oil, might take a week. All right, check it out. Watch how I can move this stuff. Oh, this is where we're getting, oh my gosh, this is really moving a lot. But what it does is it activates the oil in your work. Maybe zoom in here so you can see. There we go. And I'm done with this end because it has way too much baby oil on it already. All right, and you can blend this way. You can make things really solid so there's no little white speckles in your paper. Oh, I just love blending the oil pastels. So you can get really solid. So what I'm talking about is right over here, you can see that this is what I would call speckled. You can see the tooth of the paper, which is the texture of the paper. But once you use a touch, I mean, just a touch, not even a drop of baby oil, it moves that stuff around. That's really worth repeating. Do not use a lot of baby oil, okay? It will really just soak through your paper and make a mess. And even this is starting to soak through, as you can see. I think I used a bit much. You might just get the tip of this Q-tip. That's weird. The tip of the Q-tip, just a little bit of oil. You'd be amazed how far it goes. All right. Now you can do the same thing with a paintbrush. So watch this. I'm going to put a little paint over here, just a little black. And I'm going to pick up my paintbrush. I have a very thin paintbrush here. This is called a liner brush. We'll teach you all about brushes later. And I'm just going to dip this just a little bit in the oil. Ooh, just the tiniest bit. And watch this. I can actually mix this up almost like I'm painting, like I have a palette over here. And then I can paint with this. Yeah, totally. Make a tree coming out over here. Yeah. And if I want, I can go pick up some more paint. So that's the beauty. That's why a lot of people say you paint with oil pastels. Oh, you can do so much with them. So if you have a paintbrush, give that a try. Now, when you're done with this paintbrush, ooh, this thing's kind of gnarly. You definitely want to wash it with soap and water and get that oil out of there. There is nothing worse than if you have oil left in your brush and you're trying to work with watercolor. I'm sure you know by now, oil and water don't mix. So good luck picking up your paint. Your brush will just like reject it and you won't be able to pick up paint. So give it a thorough cleaning. Again, soap and water, we'll just get it out. And that's it for the oil. It's just, you'll see, once you start working with the oil, just again, be careful, don't use a ton. It is pure fun. Lastly, I want to show you what you can do with stencils. So if you've got your piece of paper handy, watch this. I need to really zoom out here. I want to show you some stuff you can do. So first thing I'm going to do is let's do this. Maybe just watch first and you'll get some ideas. I am going to rip my paper. Hope you're watching. I'm going to take a little bit of, I need a blue color this time. And I'm just going to put some blue right here at the top of my stencil. And watch this. You can use your finger and go like this. And when I take this away, ooh, now I have like a mountainscape. Kind of looks like a sky and mountain. I could do that again. Let's try to make a brownish color. I know that blue and orange are opposites, and they make brown. So what if I use, I don't have orange next to me, but all the primaries. I bet that'll make a nice brown, I hope. Now let's do it this way. We'll get another mountainscape here. Oh, look at that. You mix the primaries, you get some kind of a brown color. And this is used with your finger. And now I have another little mountainscape going on there. Now you have to use your imagination. You could go like this, and you could cut some tall pieces and make some grass or trees or things. So I'm just going to cut some little sections here, see what I come up with. All right. Oh, I do have a little green here. So on a side piece of paper, I'm just going to color this green. And watch this. Now I'll put some grass right down here. Oh boy, hold on to that better. Look at that. Looks like I got some trees or some grass, maybe some pine trees. And I can reuse that stencil over and over again. So before long, if you know what you're doing, you could have a whole kind of a Bob Ross type painting. And all you're doing is using stencils. So I've got one more section also for cut stencils. Another thing you can do is use your paper and go like this and fold it in half, for example. And you could make something like, I'm going to make a bird. Watch this. Yeah. So what I'm doing is just removing a section. And when I open this back up, now I've got something that kind of looks like a bird shape. So I'm going to make a blue bird, and I'm just going to color around this. And right here, I'm just going to, I'll take a different finger since this one's full of green. I'm just going to use that blue and just fill that in. And there you go. Now I've got a bird hanging out in the sky. So you can actually make some voids or missing areas, and you can make stencils that way. Let's zoom in on that so you can really see it a bit closer. So you might want to make a note so you can realize how that was done. But anytime you need to get a really fine detail, sometimes it's difficult with these oil pastels. Just know that you can make a stencil. So there may be other techniques out there that I don't know about, but these are kind of the 16 I think every artist should know. So at this point, I'm going to stop just recording this for everyone.